Hello and welcome to my first song analysis video. Now I want to throw out there, I'm pretty darn tired, but I want to get this done and I'm sticking with it. So hopefully I'll get my energy up throughout the video. And today I'm going to be reviewing the song Oxford Town. Or not reviewing, but more analyzing. I typically review things, but I'm analyzing these songs. Of course I'll give my overall thoughts at the end, but Oxford Town, okay. It's a song by Bob Dylan, and I first heard this song while listening to the album it's on, The Freewheelin' Bob Dylan, which is the album that really made Bob Dylan famous. And I don't think it was his very first. I think he did one or two before that, but it's the one that was, his first big one. And I think it's the perfect song to begin with because it's a song by the greatest songwriter of the last century, and it's also sort of basic, so I won't get too deep here on my first analysis. Okay, let's get started. Before I actually start analyzing the song, I want to give it a bit of historical context. Oxford Town is one of the few Bob Dylan songs that was written about a specific event, although the song can actually be used to sum up all of the racist towns in pre-civil rights movement America. So, what event is it based on? Well, in 1962, a man by the name of James Meredith became the first black student enrolled at the University of Mississippi, or Ole Miss. And as you can imagine, there were pretty strong opposing feelings to this, and it was a hot topic to say the least. That year, a magazine called Broadside sent out an invitation for people to write songs about the event, and Bob Dylan's song was Oxford Town, and the University of Mississippi is located in Oxford, Mississippi, so obviously that's where the titular town got its name. But Dylan, being the brilliant writer that he is, doesn't specifically talk about the event at Ole Miss itself, but instead uses the name of the town and the strife surrounding it as inspiration for a more universal song about the civil rights movement. Now let's check out the lyrics. I'm going to break this apart into chunks, and you'll hear the chunk I'm going to talk about, then my analysis of it, and then we'll move through the song this way. And I recommend you go ahead and listen to the entire song by itself before continuing, just so you have an idea of what it's about and what's coming in your head. But it's not necessary. Okay, let's get into the song.
Oxford Town, everybody's got their heads bowed down. Sun don't shine above the ground, it ain't going down to Oxford Town.
Now, I said this is a simple song, and it is, but it's still effective. The opening is basically just establishing an atmosphere. Dylan talks about how everybody's got their heads bowed down. Now, I think you can interpret this in one of two ways. One way that is, I think, the least likely way that Dylan intended, and not the way I personally see it, is to interpret this line as people in Oxford Town being ashamed of their actions. Yeah, white people ashamed in, pre-civil rights movement? No, hear me out. We as humans do and say a number of things that deep down we know is the wrong thing to do, but a variety of factors, including how we are raised and our emotional state at the time, play a role in how we act. So maybe these people of Oxford Town know they're doing the wrong thing, and so are bowing their heads. Not how I would interpret it, but it's a pretty interesting way to look at it, in my opinion. Now, another way to interpret this, and I think this is the right way, is that by having their heads bowed down, they aren't able to look at reality in the face. So they're stuck in the past and not noticing that the world around them is changing. The part about the sun not shining above the ground is basically just calling it a bleak and dark place. So, alright, let's move on.
He went down to Oxford Town, guns and clubs followed him down, all because his face was brown. Better get away from Oxford Town.
Again, pretty simple. And this is perhaps the most obvious meaning you'll get out of a Dylan song. I mean, so many of his songs are ambiguous, and people interpret it as being this way, but you could easily see it as something else. But this one's pretty straightforward, at least for Dylan. And there isn't much to say. In Oxford Town, people hate a man simply because of the color of his skin and nothing else. That's really all he's saying here, so let's keep going.
Oxford Town around the bend, come to the door, he couldn't get in, all because of the color of his skin. What do you think about that, my friend?
So this verse is perhaps the one most closely related to the James Meredith story. But even then, Dylan leaves it ambiguous. And even then, you could argue that it represents the struggles of blacks everywhere at the time. Alright, look at it this way. Perhaps the door isn't the door to Ole Miss or to any particular school, but the door to many things, more specifically the door to opportunity into a better life. And because of his skin color, this black man can't open that door and move past his oppression. I think that's really the way we should look at it, especially if we're applying a universal meaning to this song. Okay, let's move on to the next verse.
My gal, son, we got met with a tear gas bomb. I don't even know why we come, going back where we come from.
Now again, I think this can be taken in two ways. The first being that Bob Dylan is representing a black man, or at least a man with a black woman and her child, and because of their skin color, they are attacked. And because of this, they leave. Now, let's think about this. Bob Dylan being a black man doesn't add much, so let's drop that. Let's say he's a white man and he's with a black woman and a black child. This could be seen as Dylan representing progress and positive change, but Oxford Town attacks them, showing how anti-change they are. And because of this, Dylan's positive change leaves, resulting in Oxford Town continuing to be behind in the times and being a less sophisticated society. But another less interesting way to look at this is to see Dylan and his assumed family being outsiders, and the people of Oxford Town attacking them. This could show that Oxford Town is a closed circle and a closed community, and because they don't let outsiders in, they don't let any new thoughts or ideas in, and once again, this causes them to be left behind by the rest of the country.
Oxford Town in the afternoon, everybody singing a soulful tune. 2 men died 'neath the Mississippi moon, somebody better investigate soon.
This final verse is interesting to say the least, and is perhaps a perfect example of how these places were like. So, the first part about the sorrowful tune isn't particularly interesting, but then he says a couple people died, and he says someone better investigate soon. Notice he doesn't say people are investigating it. He says they better. That could be seen as him wishing these people who killed these two, let's assume they're black men, he's saying that they may not be arrested or even sought after. And maybe he's sitting back and he sees this injustice and he's saying these cops had better do something about this. And so Oxford Town is so screwed up that people could be killed and nothing done about it. And, that's some really powerful imagery. It's something that if you don't think about it, you may just listen right past it, but really think about it. Dylan's the wisest person in the song. He obviously sees all the stuff that's messed up here, and he sits back and he sees these people dying, or dead, I should say, and he says, these people, they better look into this. And maybe he's saying that they'll wish they had later, or maybe he's saying, for a sense of morality, for human decency, they need to look into this. But the fact of the matter is, he understands that they very well might not look into this, and that's very, very effective. And that's the end of the song. Yeah, that's it for my Oxford Town analysis. So how good is the song? It's good, but the great Bob Dylan has written a lot better, with more complex symbols and stories. But it's pretty darn impressive for a song he wrote for a magazine. And it is a simple and effective song, and it is perfect for my first analysis video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time when I analyze David Bowie's Space Oddity, which obviously will be a much more in-depth and much more insightful analysis, and will also be a lot longer. Alright, see you guys then.